Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Today, I am going to disagree with the popular open source developer Linus Torvalds.
Rats and gerbils and fish. Oh, fish aren't even pets. Fish are pests.
Now, I would say that there is really not a pest unless like you're gardening and you need to eat that as a food. But I do agree that pets can be considered different. So you can have pets that you can bond with and the ones where you just kind of watch them. I think what makes these pets interesting is not the bond you are making with them, but rather the observation of their behavior. Ants, for example, are eusocial, and it's always interesting to see them build nests and trail along distances. Cyprinids for me fits in that interesting category of social animals, in that they are not this complex social beings like us, or crows, or parrots, or orcas, but they also operate independently, unlike eusocial species, but they just kind of hang out together and swim together. Now, we must distinguish between shoaling and schooling fish. Many marine species have schooling where they move in a more or less uniform pattern, while shoaling species generally focus together, but in a more disorganized way. They won't move together in the same direction, and they also aren't necessarily on the same water level and may even have different feeding style. Many cyprinids are known to shoal together despite being different species. In terms of my pond, I have a few species, but some are non-cyprinids, so I'd like to mention them first. So one of them is a Nile tilapia, a climbing perch, iridescent shark, walking catfish, common snakehead, and lastly the common pleco. Aside from the iridescent shark, these guys don't really interact much with our cyprinid groups though. The most distantly related subfamily according to this phylogeny is Labionenae. We only have one fish, which is the rohu. And in the next family, we have the family Cyprininae. We have 7 main members, being common carp, goldfish, Java barb, red-tailed tinfoil barb, and bala shark. I did just group all of the Cyprinus genus together simply because koi is considered to be an amur carp, which is found in Asia, and European carp commonly found in aquaculture, and the mirror carp morph. They are also easily interbred with each other. The ghost koi is even an interbreeding between the mirror carp and the koi. Just because I live in Asia and I don't know what specifically I have other than them being in this genus. Now going in deeper, we have the subfamily Taurinae, which includes the pink mahseer. There have been disagreements on whether or not they should be a distinct species. Then lastly, we have the last subfamily, Smiliogastrinae. We have one member, which is the filament barb. This guy used to be part of the genus Puntius, but it was later moved to the genus Dawkinsia, which is unfortunately named after Richard Dawkins. Now that we have a basic phylogeny, I do want to explore how they swim on different depths in the shoal, and if we are able to classify them by that. And if we were to classify them by that, how would it be? The fish in the genus Barbonymus generally swim in all levels of depth. However, the Java barb seems to prefer the upper layer, whereas the tinfoil barb seems to readily move up and down more. Our goldfish seems to do the same as the Java barb as well. The rohu, however, seems to mostly prefer the upper layers of the water. On the other hand, the bala shark seems to prefer to be on the bottom, and the pink mahseer like to stay somewhere in the middle. The common carp is interesting because they have a downwards pointing mouth, but koi have been artificially selected to have a mouth that's more friendly to eat floating pellets. That said, however, koi generally share the same behavior as the common carp when I'm not feeding them, while they also seem to occasionally come up to swim with the barb. So we see that, yeah, generally speaking, the subfamily does not match with how the fish movements are. I definitely find this very interesting in how, while they swim together, most of them have some kind of preferred water level, even if they stay around the same axis. So yeah, I think this is extremely interesting. It is very interesting to see how their behavior work and how they vary more than to be expected with each species' feeding style. A study has done how minnows has a small shift in their behavior in mixed species cyprinid shoals. I do certainly think it's interesting to see how these fish move compared to monoculture koi-only pond. Tend to focus on aquariums with not that much fish species, which is fine, but I think combined aquaculture and pet aquarium fish in this pond, but I combined aquaculture and pet aquarium fish in this pond, and I think it's really interesting to see how they interact, especially for those with only single individual like the pink marcia and the filament barb, and how they fit into other fishes. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it, and maybe if you find it interesting and get why I like fishes, but all fish are interesting, and at the end of the day I think it's a very interesting topic, and if you are interested too, maybe you should look into it, have some fun. Bye.